Let's go. I am wonderful. I am blessed. I am so happy. We have amazing people today. Gucci, hello. Hey, Tinker. What's up? Hi, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to It Takes a Village with Jess. Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. Hello. How's everybody feeling today? We feeling good? We have two amazing, thank you, Fiva. We have two amazing queens today, so I cannot wait. I cannot wait until you guys hear their stories, get to meet them. Super duper excited. Just waiting for everybody else to come in. Hello, Jazzy. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Steph. Viva. Hello, Skate. Thank you. All right, y'all. Hey, welcome to It Takes a Village with Jess. This is a featured show, so please be respectful to my guests and myself. If you don't, their fingers work. And once you are on that block list, you will never come back. So please don't block your best blessings. Please don't block your blessings. Hi, Jarnell. Hello. Like I said, there's no perfect hello manual how to be the perfect parent, right? So, with that being said, today we are going to be discussing our life, right? Our childhood growing up in with parents that are divorced. So that is today's subject. That is our topic today. So welcome everyone. Hello. So listen, while we're on here, hello, Jelly baby. So, like I said, while we're on here, please remember there is no cursing during the show. I won't be able to pay attention to you guys, but I will be shouting out the top three gifters. Like right now, we got my Fiva Diva, we got Jelly, and we have Skate in the building. Thank you guys so much. So, like I said, throughout the show, I do not pay attention to the comments or the gifts, but I promise you there is no comment or a gift that goes unseen. I do go back and I do have the YouTube channel that if you guys do want to replay the episode, it is in there. Once again, today we have the amazing TopBadge JillyBaby and Fiva Diva. So we have two amazing TopBadge queens in the building. I'm honored. So guys, please be respectful. They are going to be talking about their life, their childhood. And the topic today, it is growing up with divorced parents. So once again, and I was doing some research and it's amazing to know that some of these subjects, right? So what do you think it's the five top reasons why people get divorced? Does anyone know? What would you think? Finances, infidelity, cheating. Okay. So the number one according to the CDC is lack of commitment. Isn't that crazy? That is the number one leading with 43%. Lack of commitment. Second is what you guys said, right? Infidelity. So, and then third would be money, and the rest would be domestic violence and communication. So, like I said, that was a fun fact. Also, divorces rate did go down in 2022, but I really think it's because of COVID, because less people were getting married. But yes, it is it's a thing. I come from a home that is a broken home, right? So with that being said, like I said, please be respectful to my guests. They all did. And yep, 2021, exactly, Fiva. So like I said, please be respectful. We have two amazing women that are going to be sharing their story. And I think it's important, right? Because we see these beautiful women on the app and now they get to share a little piece of themselves, and now we get to understand why they are the way they are. They get to be themselves, be vulnerable. So once again, please be respectful. first to my queens that are going to be coming in, and second to me. And remember, my bouncers, their fingers do work, and once you're on the block list, you do not come back from there. So with that being said, can we get Fiva Diva's emoji all up? Let's go. Fiva Diva. Do you guys know it? Is that little temperature thing? Let's go. Fiva Diva. Let's welcome her, please. I know y'all lying. Fiva Diva's emoji, please. Um, let's run her up, please. There we go. There we go. It's right there, like Jelly Baby did. It's the temperature, y'all. It's the temperature. There you go. There we go. Thank you very much. Welcome her. All right, here we go.
It's the fact that they know the emoji and put something
They're
different.
playing with you, Fiva. They are playing. Hi, Queen. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being part of It Takes a Village with Jess. Today, this is my fellow featured show colleague here. So I am so blessed to have you guys here. So, Fiva, I asked everybody that comes into your show, show. I was 21 when I had my child, right? I was a young mom. I was 21. So, do you have children, and how old were you when you became a mother?
I have two children. Most of the people in here are very familiar with them. I was 25 when I had my son, but was 24 when I found out I was about to be a mom. So
Okay, all right. So, I ask everyone this is tell me a little bit about your village. A, who raised you. Then two, if you want, you can say who's your village now as an adult, being a mom as well.
so when my parents split, my mom was primarily who I spent most of my time with, and she had the day to day responsibility of making sure I stayed alive. My dad obviously moved out of the home and was married, so he was financially responsible for us. He did a lot financially, but emotionally, my mom is the one that kind of had her hand in everything. So, and now surprisingly, my village is my dad. Like, I lean on him for just about everything when it comes to my kids. My kids know no decision goes through, you know, no decision goes anywhere without his say so. So my dad is there. That's their father, essentially.
I love it. I love it. So, just to tell everyone about, right? So this conversation today is about growing up in a home with divorced parents. So, what is your story? Like, tell me your story and growing up with divorced family and how it affected you as an adult.
So my parents split when I was 9, and I think I had a different reaction than both of my siblings. So there were three of us. I saw this as a moment where, like, oh my gosh, the house will be like normal and quiet, and these two people who really shouldn't be together will finally like find peace elsewhere, right? I thought this was gonna be like the calmest thing, the calmest thing it could be, but you know, we experienced a lot of adult things that we shouldn't have as children.
Mhm.
So their split was very rocky, and I can remember like my mom and my dad arguing, and my mom telling him to take all the water home in his pocket if if he wanted to control everything. So they would argue a lot, even being split apart, you know. So it got to a point where my dad would come less and less because it just became too much for him, and obviously in his opinion too much for us. But the beautiful thing about my father was that he knew the day would come where he would have his chance to talk about it, to share with us, you know, his side of things. My mom told us her side from day one, but when I was about 21, my dad finally kind of set me down and just like, I just want you to understand, because there were things that he knew about my mom that obviously as a child you don't know, that he would never have told us. So he sat me down and just kind of talked about a lot of what contributed to their split. And, you know, we talk about money being a huge aspect of that. And they didn't see eye to eye on finances. You know, she was a stay at home mom, but she also wasn't, she didn't know how to manage money. So he is, I like to call him cheap. but he came from a family that just worked for everything. So he in my opinion hoarded money when we were
The
kids.
saver, right? There's always a saver, then there's a spender in a relationship.
So, that contributed to it. There were always accusations of affairs when I was a child from my mom's side. He's like, I assure you that didn't happen. And I had to come to grips with the fact that it was none of my business if it did in the first place.
Mm.
Just none of my business.
That's is that the adult Fiva Diva saying that? Like, or did you always think that as a child?
As a child, I didn't think that. As a child, I saw my mom, in my opinion, what I saw was my mom, because there were issues of domestic violence. I saw my mom abused. I saw my mom always crying. I saw my mom always hurt. So I just assumed it was my dad's fault. But at 20, 21, you start to see things from the eyes of a person embarking on life and understanding things. And I saw stuff in my mom that I was just like, this is strange. And then I would talk to my dad, like, she did this, or I heard her say this, and it bothered me. So come to find out, my mother had abused my father.
Wow.
Like, I remember my father being arrested for domestic violence, like taken out in handcuffs from our home and then leaving the next day. But then at 21, I'm seeing x-rays where my father's ribs were broken. So, I started, it kind of just turned my world upside down at 21 to find out what I believed, like staunchly believed, this was shaping and molding who I was fabricated. It was a show almost. He was like, she was really good about starting things in the bedroom. And then when they escalate, coming out and being the victim.
Mm.
So it was tough, but at the same time, what it meant to me was, do I choose to be mad at my mom? Do I choose to be mad at my dad? Am I going to continue in this space, or am I going to embrace having a relationship with both of these people? I was in college. I needed both of them for various reasons.
Yes, you need both of them. You need both of your parents.
Both of my parents. So, the issues of, because my mom didn't like that we were now having these discussions. She didn't like, I remember at 21, my mom saying, you know what? Ever since you were a baby, you always chose your father over me. And I was like, wait, what? You think when you hear this as an adult, like as a baby, like, Mom, really? As a baby, I chose my dad over you? Come on now. But I also found out then that when I was born, my mom was hospitalized for 2 weeks.
Mm.
So he was the caretaker. Like, he had to take off work. Him and my grandmother had to care for me. So, she didn't have that first 2 weeks. And as a mom, I know those first 2 weeks with your baby are fragile. So, and so important. So, it just kind of opened my eyes to things. So I chose to decide what was important to me. Finding out that my father had paid off the mortgage on our house, had paid bills for 5 years after they split. Mm-hmm. And the only reason he was stopping was because my mom was inviting people around. And he felt like, this isn't good for my kids. So, and to be honest, like, my dad bought my mom cars until I graduated high school, so he was there financially for us, whether we knew it or not, whether she would say it or not, so understanding that he provided in a way, and he was there for us in a way that he felt safe. Because he said, what I felt was going to happen was eventually she was going to get so worked up that I was going to land in jail and y'all would have nobody. Like, y'all would lose everything because I wasn't here to financially take care of you. So, he kind of had to forego the emotional attachment for the sake of us just being stable financially and having a home. Like, that was one of the things he said. He was like, I wanted y'all to go home to the same place every day, no matter if you were with me or with her, same place every day. So, it was rocky, but as an adult, now I just kind of look at it as these were two people who chose to be together for reasons that were never going to sustain them. Yes. And unfortunately had children before they realized it.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. First and foremost, thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable, right? Because I think so many men out here and so many women can relate to that. And we grew up, I like some of the stories that you said, like, I remember it wasn't my mother, but my father being beat by his wife and broken ribs. Like, I remember as a little girl, like, oh my God, who's going to protect my dad? You know what I mean? Like, so just hearing how you see, like, how are we going to protect, we always protect our mom, but protect the men too, because men need protection as well. So it's interesting how we do have that similar story together. So thank you. First and foremost, thank you. Welcome everyone to It Takes a Village with Jess. Make sure you guys hit Fiva Diva with a fave. She just told us her background, her childhood, what she went through. Do you feel like you missed out on being raised with both of your parents?
As a kid, I did. I really truly felt like, and yes, I did. I wished my father could have been there in the forefront. I found out as my senior year in high school that every program I had ever had, my father was there. He would just sneak in the back and leave when I was done.
Oh,
And it took like a family friend. I was very upset because like it was a family friend, like it was a history program, and she was the history teacher, and she's hosting this, and I was a part of the program, and I danced, and I had asked my dad to be there. He said he'd think about it. He wasn't
sorry,
sure.
y'all. I get emotional with these things. I get soft. I'm a softie when it comes down to that. That was,
Yeah.
oh,
And you know, my dad, even now to this day, like my dad is like, I'm not walking anybody down the aisle for the wedding. I don't want people looking at me. Like this is just not who he is.
oh.
But after it was over, like it was a really amazing experience for me being on that stage. And it was my senior year in high school. So this was my last time getting to dance on the stage. And in my mind, he didn't come. So I'm off the stage and I'm crying. And this woman's known me since I was an infant. And she goes, what's wrong? I was like, he didn't come. Like, why wouldn't he come? I told him this was the last time. And she said, oh, he was here. He was in the
And how
back.
did it make you feel?
I said, well, why didn't he stay to say anything? She said, it doesn't matter. He was here. You can ask him that later. Just know he was here and stop crying right now.
Okay.
So, little things like that, I know, like they're reminders that even though they couldn't figure it out, they were both fighting to try to be there for me. Like my mom was always there, always out in front, cheering me on, the loudest person in the room, embarrassing the mess out of me. But my dad just he played his role in the background and was fine with that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the amazing part, right? Because our parents, we never know. Like I said, there's no book how to be the perfect parent. We learn as we go. And just to know that your dad knew that that was important to you and came later on. So just knowing that he was there, that's priceless, Fiva. I'm happy that you got that. Like I really am.
Yeah, I'm like it to this day. I still kind of am in awe of that because I hear so much about it being hard to show up.
Mhm.
Oh, I can't do it because of this, and like it gets under my skin. And people in my stream have seen me get really upset about it because, like, I watched my dad fight through this. I watched my brother fight for the right to see his kid and to be there and to be present even on the days that aren't his, right? So,
There's no, yeah, that's right. Yo, we won't even get in that. That's a whole different show, y'all. We coming back. Fiva's coming back on that show. So Fiva, I like to ask everyone, right? And I usually get emotional on this one, but how do you define home with everything that you've been through? What is home to you?
man, I'm gonna tear up, but
We'll tear up together. Okay.
a lot of people know my story and they know that for my own sake and my mental health, there were 6 months where my children had to live outside of my home. And that was followed up by a time in my life where I had to move in with my sister and my mom. And it was not an environment I wanted my children to experience because we would have grown up. They would have experienced everything I experienced growing up. So I sent my kids to live with my dad for 3 years. And I can remember when I got my apartment, I called my dad. I was like, I'm gonna get the 2-bedroom because it's this much money. And he was like, well, what's the 1-bedroom? And I told him. And he said, well, that's $300 less. Get the 1-bedroom. And I said, where are the kids gonna sleep? He was like, when you had a 2-bedroom, where did they sleep then? And he was right. They slept in my bed. And to this day, y'all, my kids will come sleep in the bed with me. He said, there's no reason for you to spend that money just for them to be in the bed with you. And I realize now, like, no house has ever been a home until my kids were there. Like, COVID was hard having them there with me every day and not having school and having one bedroom to share. But if they weren't there, I don't know how we would have survived if they had been somewhere else. And, if we'd had to quarantine separately, like, home is wherever my kids are. So when they weren't with me, I didn't feel at home until I went to my dad's.
And that is, you know what, Fiva, that's my answer too. My home is where my son is. That's my heart. That's the love of my life. He saved me. Um, and to those that don't have children, their home can be their friends. Their homes can be their grandparents, their pets. It doesn't matter, but it's just amazing. Everyone's definition. I have some people that come in here and that said home is where you feel safe. And that is huge. So I love to hear different people's answers. So Fiva, me and you are on the same page there. So sorry, y'all. I can't see the screen. I'm so emotional. But welcome everyone to It Takes a Village with Jess. We just had Fiva Diva, like I said. Make sure you hit her with a fave. She's just amazing, and thank you so much, so much. Did your family relationship influence you in wanting a family, or affect the way that you think about parenting?
So early on, my kids have heard this, so no one like gasped for air, but I didn't want children.
Mm.
Like, I felt like I had spent my childhood kind of catering to the people around me and making sure I didn't overburden my mother, making sure I didn't upset my dad and make him feel away, trying to be the good kid because my sister and my brother kind of, whatever they felt, they acted out. So I spent my childhood very put together. So when I graduated college, it was just kind of like, I'll be the rich auntie. I'll be the rich auntie. I'm not going to have children. I'm going to be okay. My sister and them can have the kids. Even my mom was just like, are y'all ever going to give me grandbabies? And I was kind of like, I don't think any of us should have kids. None of us should have kids.
I was like that. I was like, I'm waiting until I'm 30 if I do have children. So trust me. And I had my son at 21. So life has a funny way of throwing things around.
So, I was just like, none of us should have kids. And then my sister had my niece in October 2014. And, I just kind of changed my idea of where I wanted to be, where, I changed my job because I wanted to be home for my niece. I was like, I'm never going to see this kid grow up if I'm traveling all the time. So I changed my job. And then I found out I was pregnant in March of 2007. Oh. So it was like, here we go. And I tell people I spent like the first month like telling myself like, hey, you can't do this anymore. You're that first week was legit like, you cannot drink margaritas.
Your whole life changes. I tell everybody, your whole life changes.
40 weeks of no margaritas.
All right, Fiva. Now we know Fiva likes margaritas. Welcome everyone to It Takes a Village with Jess. Shout out to my top 3 gifties.
So, I didn't want them, but then, you find out you're pregnant. And I think it was my mother. My mother told me this was like, she flat out, you expect your parents. First of all, I felt like I was 17 and I hadn't graduated college. I didn't have a job. Like, I felt like a teenager going to tell my parents I'm pregnant. But I tell my dad, he's legit just like, listen, cool. But when we go out to eat, don't you order extra meals. I'm feeding one person. Sorry. I'm feeding one person only. And then I tell my mom, and she's like, oh, you're not going to be good at this. So I spent the first 10 years of parenting trying to prove to everybody
what did you
that I could do
that.
What did you
So I have another question, right? Welcome everyone to It Takes a Village with Jess. Shout out to my top 3 gifters, Jilly. We have Christy Mar and Steph. Thank you, boo boo. All right. Did you, because I know this question is relatable to me because I went through the same thing, is did you ever blame yourself for your parents' divorce?
No. I'm gonna say this is a good time. I knew they were crazy and they shouldn't have been together from the beginning. I feel like I was the only one in the house that knew this was a bad idea. Like I never blamed myself. My sister blamed me, but I never blamed myself. Like I looked at both of them like y'all never should have been together.
Yes. So that's funny. It's funny. Different people are like, "Yep, my parents should have never been together." Another thing is, what lesson has your childhood taught you that made you the mother that you are today?
Mm. Um, I didn't like. It probably took me into my 30s, so that probably means I was a parent for a little bit longer. But one thing my dad said to me in my 20s that never resonated was that he did the best he could do with what was going on. Like he was like, nobody told me how to do this. I had parents and they parented me the way that they knew how to parent me, but nobody told me how to parent in my, like his parents were together since they were 16 and they were together till they passed away. So in his mind, like co-parenting was just like what it was. So he said to me one day as we were kind of hashing out our relationship, he said, I did the best I could. And I'm sorry if I failed you in any way, but I didn't have a manual. I didn't know. So, I've taken that further with my children, understanding I don't have a manual to either one of these people. And what may work on this kid is not working on this kid. And I just need to figure out what works for this kid and work really hard to help them just be great human beings when they leave me. And to learn from the stuff that I didn't, like give them the things I didn't have, but also help them to know what they're missing right now that I don't have, being transparent about, listen, I don't really understand this. Like even with my mental illness, most people try to cover that. I finally had to sit down and explain, hey, when mommy's not coming out of her room, it's not you. It had nothing to do with you.
I love that. I so love that. And one question before we ask everyone about where they can find you, and I want you to come back if you're still around, if you had time, is if you knew then what you know now, what would it be?
Honestly, if I knew as a child that you can love people more than anything in the world and they still not know it. Like my dad loves us, but because someone was telling me he didn't love me, or because he didn't do it the way they wanted him to. Like I lived probably about 6 years believing my father didn't really love me. And that hurts as a child, right? To believe a parent doesn't love you. So understanding that how someone loves me is not indicative of whether they love me, right? So with my children, like telling them and showing them in the ways I know how, and if they call me out on, look, I don't like it, like my son would rather me leave him alone. My daughter wants hugs and kisses. Tell me how to love you so you never feel like you weren't loved. And as a parent, I think that's my job, is to make sure my kids go out into the world and know that they are loved and they are protected and they are safe in my space with me.
I love it. I love it. And like I said, so Fiva, thank you so much for telling us your childhood, for telling us a little bit of how you are as a mom and being vulnerable. Your story is amazing. Keep on going, Queen. I would love to have you back for another discussion. But before you go, let everyone know where they can find you and when you stream.
Okay. So typically on Sundays, we have Fine Arts with Fiva at 5 p.m. Eastern. We are on a break. We'll be back September 11th. I already have the season planned out for season 3, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I typically stream in the evening. Sometimes you can catch me during the day on a light work day, or on a day I'm technically playing hooky. But typically evening, sometime around 7 Eastern, 8 Eastern, I'm on. Or you can catch me in entanglements. Like I bounce around a few times. Like
and also she has something going on this Friday that I actually ordered too, because my son said he's going to be doing it with me. So tell everyone what's going on Friday.
On Friday, I'm hosting my first paint and sip. If you check out my IG, I have kind of I put out the one that I ordered. It's kind of a throwback to the 80s because I turned 40 in next month, and I'm excited about that. So I'm kind of falling into some nostalgia a little bit. But we're gonna do a paint and sip. I have a couple of guests coming in to entertain us while we do it. People will be in the box painting, and we'll shuffle people out throughout the stream.
So I'm so excited. So thank you, Fiva Diva. Next, we have Jilly Baby. And like I said, I have some questions. So if you're still around, please let me know because I have 4 more questions to ask you guys. But I want you guys in the box together to see if your answers are going to be the same. So Fiva Diva, thank you so much. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all make sure you hit her with a fave. All right. So now we have Miss Jilly Baby. Y'all make sure you guys put her emoji in the stream. Put the butterfly. Let's go. The little star and the butterfly star. Butterfly star. Butterfly. Restart. Star. Butterfly. Up. There we go. Thank you. Hoops earrings. Epsy. Hoops earrings. Got it. There you go. Make sure you put her butterfly. So we have Miss Jilly Baby coming to us. I am so I'm in awe. I'm honored right now, y'all. Guys, like I said, please be respectful. Shout out to everyone. Welcome to It Takes a Village with Jess. And hi gorgeous. How are you?
I'm good. I'm like, oh, I knew like I wanted to talk about this like subject. I talk about it sometimes in my stream, but like now I'm sitting through it and I'm just like, oh my gosh, why I gotta go second? Now I'm over here like
I'm already crying, so it's all right. It's all right. So for everyone who knows this, well, you guys know she is the face of POF. We have Miss Jilly Baby in the building, and I am honored, beyond honored, that she chose my platform to share a little bit about who she is, about her childhood. So, and I'm sure you guys have her favorite. So make sure you guys hit her with a fave, okay? So, Jilly, and like I said, I always tell everyone I was a 21 when I had my child, and so people that don't know you, you have any children?
I do not have any children. I have a fur baby, so I have a dog. That's it. I'm a dog mom.
And that's your baby.
Yes.
And so I always ask somebody is tell me a little bit about your village, who raised you.
So my mom, I guess you would kind of say like a rather large village when I think back on it, because I have 4 parents, right? So I have my mom, my dad, and then they both remarried. So I have a stepmom and a stepfather. And I would throw in my aunts in the mix, my dad's sister, his second oldest sister. I would throw her in there, my aunt and stuff. Probably if I narrowed it down, but everybody around that space we talk about it was contributing at some point to me growing up.
She does. She looks beautiful, y'all. So Jilly, I'm gonna give you the platform. You know how this works. Is tell me your story about growing up in a divorced family and how it affected you as the amazing adult that you are today.
It's okay. So my parents divorced when I was 2. As far as I can remember it was around 2 when my parents divorced. My mom, my stepfather is who my mother, essentially from what I can piece together, because even to today, like knowing what really happened, right? Do you really know? My stepfather is who my mother was cheating on my father with, for their own personal reasons of the relationship. So essentially like, that's how I tell my mom and my stepfather's anniversary. I just take my age minus 2 years. And that's how long they've been married, is pretty much as how long that they've been together. But they divorced when I was 2. And, the story, even through the years up until now, I still don't have like a true, honest like answer. But essentially what I could piece together is my mother and my father. My father was in love with my mother. Like so in love with her, probably the only person that my father to this day has ever truly loved. My father was into some very sketchy things. They met in a bar. She was a waitress. He was a bartender, working at the club, right? And so they met, fell in love. And my dad was into some really sketchy stuff with drugs and things. And there was talk about certain levels of abuse that took place in their relationship, which led to my mother finding a kindred spirit. She worked at a bank. She met my stepfather. My mom's originally from Guam, and my stepfather is from Guam. So these two found their way to each other in Hawaii while she's working at a bank. He like came in one day, and that's how they met, and it progressed from there. So my father didn't want to let my mother leave. This part of the story I know is true, is my father told my mother, that's fine, you can leave. She came home one day, all her stuff was thrown out of the house. You can leave, but you can't take her being me. So my mother chose to leave. So from 2 to 10, I was raised by my father. So it's just me, a young girl, my father, us by ourselves. Lots of moving around. We moved a lot. I just remember a lot of moving. I said my father did some sketchy stuff. So I do recall like there being drugs around the house, not that he would do, but a lot of moving around. I would see my mother when I started getting a little older, maybe around 5. I would see my mother once to twice a year. So I would see her in the summertime, I get summer break. And then she used to have this time period in the beginning of the year where she would be in Hawaii. She lived in another island for a couple of years, and then she moved back to Guam. So the distance was further, right? So I got to see her less. But I would see her once or twice a year. But for the most part, by the time I was 5, I was taking care of myself. My dad would be gone for periods of time. This is what my dad would say. I don't know if y'all would have this in your family where you would have my Uncle Kevin apparently lived with us growing up, but it would be the room you're not supposed to go into.
Yeah.
Right? So my dad would leave and just say, your uncle is here. Don't do anything you're not supposed to do, and he'd be gone. Now, do I ever recall seeing him in the room or going in the room? No. However, I was told that there was another adult with me at the house, and I would just, sometimes it would be for a day by I would think I wasn't by myself. So it would just be me and my dad or by myself, like literally, like I'm 5 years old. I can remember making my own lunches, dressing myself. That's when, kid cuisine. Who remembers kid cuisine? I lived off a lot of kid cuisine, guys. Yeah. A lot of kid cuisine growing up. But that would be the nature of our relationship. And my dad had lots of women coming in and out. So I used to see his relationships with women. So I put all this together to say the effect of adulthood for me is when you're a kid, you form relationships and you don't have much emotional understanding. So, crying. So you have to imagine a child. You're with your one parent. Everything is great. Now it's time to go see your other parent. You're sad because you're leaving, right? I'm leaving. You're putting me on a plane. I'm going to leave what's comfortable to me to go see my mom. I'm excited to see her because it's my mom, but I miss my dad, right? I'm emotionally kind of just I'm messed up. You get comfortable. You're finally with your mom. You get in this space. You feel good. You're happy. And then you got to leave again. So you have to experience a lot of this breaking, a lot of this leaving over and over again as a kid. And you don't understand. And I didn't have parents that talked to me about these emotions as a kid. They really had a lot of disdain for each other. So you add the emotional space that you're in as a kid. You don't know what to do with these things. You just know sad or hurt. And then you add the layer of, you're just like your father. Oh, you're just like your mother. Oh, so you add this in a space and there's no outlet for this, right? You just either think this is normal or, you just kind of, I guess, get through it. I guess that's the only way I could describe it is just kind of get through it. But as an adult, at 10 years old, I was visiting my mom for a summer and I got a phone call at the end of summer from my godmother, my mom did, pretty much saying, you're not coming back. You need to stay there with your mom now. It's time for you to stay. So I didn't get to go get my things. I didn't get to see any of what my life was. It was just, you're not coming back. It's time for you to stay. And then from 10 till 18, I went from a single parent home to now a dual parent home. So I'm living with my mom and my stepfather. And my stepfather had kids, so he moves my stepsister in. So now I'm living with 2 parents and a sibling. I was horrible. It was a horrible adjustment for me. And then to add, because why not? When I move in a year later, the infidelity that my mom went through when I was 2, right? That I have no recollection of. I have no recollection of ever seeing my parents together, my biological parents. I have no memory of them. I recently saw a wedding photo of theirs. It's the only time that's the only visual I have of my actual parents being together. But now I'm 11, living in this new home, and now I get to live through infidelity because my stepfather cheats on my mother. So now I get to live through a home that is on the verge of now another divorce. I'm older now, right? I'm older now. I don't know if people experience this with their step parents. You know, you go through this phase when you're getting into your preteens where you're just like, you don't like them. I don't like them. I was like, yeah, fine. Me and my mama, we're going to move out. It's just going to be us.
Oh, yeah.
Leave him behind, right? And it's just going to be the girls and forget him. But they chose to stay and work it out. So a lot of this for me as an adult in my relationships, I say this a lot in my stream. I have a very healthy relationship with detachment. Because the foundation of who I am is based on leaving, right? Nothing lasts. Everything, there's an expiration date, or you gotta keep moving because this is gonna be what this is, and then you leave first. Yep. Or if bad things are happening, I don't want to inconvenience anybody. I don't want to be an inconvenience, so I'll leave. Right? I'll rip the Band-Aid. I'll take myself away because I'm gonna be okay, because that's what my growing up was, being okay, right? It's fine. It's fine. Nobody's here. I'll cook my food. Yep. I'll dress myself. I'll get good grades. I'll do all of these things. I'll be okay because we're going to move, or I need to move, or something's going to happen, or, I'm going to have to live this. So it has really, the spaces where I should have healthy relationships and feel safe and home are opposite for me. I look for that outside of the spaces that you should be able to do that with, right? With your mom, your dad, your home, like those spaces. It's like backwards for me. And it's not really like, it hasn't been the healthiest way, to me at least, to build, relationships and things, because that's a lot of pressure, right? Externally, right? To just kind of feel like you're just kind of like, ugh, like, oh, be this safe space for me. And you're just like, man, I should be able to have this relationship with my dad, like I see people, just like I see Fiva talk about her dad, right? And just with all that stuff, I don't have that. And I feel like wrong because my dad and I don't have that type of relationship, right?
But Jilly, you're not the only one. Like, I heard that and I was like, to this day, the 36-year-old woman that I am, and I said it right before I went on the show, I said, I don't even know if my father loves me. I don't even know if the man who made me loves me. And that's why I was excited. I was excited to hear your story because that has a lot to do with the woman that I am today. So,
and it's like, I know my dad loves me, and I think that the challenge too was that his sister, my aunt, had to really sit down and tell me, like, everybody, like, you can't teach people something, like, I can't expect my parents to instill in me things that weren't instilled in them, right? Yep. So my dad's own growing up and my aunt giving me, as I got older, perspective on what his childhood was like and the things that he felt. So when she gives me that perspective, or she gives me that insight, and then I lay that next to the way my father raised and treated me, he loves me. But that's how he learned to love, or like, and then you just add all the extra stuff in there, right? You're raising a child of somebody that looks like the woman that you love that broke your heart. Like, like that part as an adult, when I really thought about that, that's gotta hurt in a different way, right? Because you love me because of your daughter, but I look like the woman that broke your heart. I can't change my face, right? Like,
It's a beautiful face.
but
Beautiful.
but I, as an adult, I understand, right? I can look back, but as a child, like, you're not supposed to, I can say that you're not supposed to put that on me, right? Like, intentionally or unintentionally, right? That's you don't understand that as a kid, but as an adult, I've understood that. I've understood that my dad and I are never going to have long talks. I am not going to be like, oh my gosh, he's not the first person I think of to call when something happens. We have brief conversations, but that's a relationship, and that's okay. Like, I shouldn't feel any. It works for whatever this is. I learned to love my father from a distance, and just, you really, people say the phrase, but I think as an adult, you get to appreciate the notion of meeting people where they are.
Yes.
And so that's my relationship with my dad. I put that there, and my relationship with my mother is my best friend. But that morphed later on in life, right? Because there's a lot of tension there from a woman perspective, right? It's my mom. Why'd you leave me? How could you do that, right? How could you left me, like, to go be with my stepdad? You know what I mean? Like, she and I had to have a lot of very intense. My mother and I have done a lot of work. We have had a lot of therapy sessions to just say that, right? Like, you left me. Like, what mother does, and that's her own battles too, right? Because as an adult, I know that wasn't easy for her.
Yeah.
Like, I know that was not easy for her to do, but for whatever reason, she felt it was in her best interest and her safety to make that decision to leave, and she knew that I was going to be safe.
Yeah.
That he wouldn't, hurt me.
Welcome everyone to It Takes a Village with Jess. We just heard the amazing JillyBaby story. First and foremost, thank you so much for being vulnerable. Like, I just it's crazy, right? Because there's so many similarities, just like everyone here too, is how does all of this, right, Jilly? How does this shape you into the woman that you are now? Like, how did it affect you? How does it affect you and your childhood? So I guess the question is, how does your childhood experience, right, impact your relationship now as the adult?
Like I stated before, it's a very, like, I'm still working through, like for me, what I just call, like, detachment issues, right? And not taking all of those things and placing them onto any relationships that I form, whether they be friendships, like love, relationships, without sex. Like, I think that I'm much better at it now, but I think a lot of the times the challenges I would face is just the idea of leaving, right? Like, I get we have to live with a certain sense of YOLO, right? Nothing is forever and nothing exists, but sometimes you can cross that line into a sense of almost jadedness about things, right? Where you're just kind of like, well, this is going to be short-lived anyway. And, or, abandonment and leaving issues, right? So if we don't talk, early on, a lot of times in my younger years, it'd be like, well, why aren't you talking to me? Like, what are you doing? Where are you going? Like, a lot of that pressure on a relationship, right? Because, oh, you're going to leave anyway. Or it's time to leave. So instead of going with the flow, I would, like, just dump everything, right? We have to make this count because you're not going to be here and this is going to be short-lived and you're not going to like this part of me. So I'm just going to tell you everything. I didn't have I think it was the opposite. People tend to go through situations and they get really guarded. And I'm the very opposite. I'm just kind of like, sometimes it's a verbal vomit, like, oh yeah, and this happened to me, and this happened to me, and this, and you're just kind of like, that's a lot, right? And not everybody should have access to that part of, like, every part of you, right? Like, you have to, I don't know, it's not censor, but a little temper that part of yourself out to certain people, right? Have a little discernment, I guess is a better way to put it.
And when everything that you've been through, right? The detachment, the going back and forth. Because when you said that, you spoke it so well. You said it exactly how, what we go through. Children that went through divorce and being going from one parent to another. So now, as the woman that you are now, what is home? How do you define home?
I'm gonna give you a really honest answer. I don't have a definition for home other than wherever I am. Right? Like I don't have I don't have this notion of home. Like wherever I am. Like, like here's a perfect example. I don't know if travel is still here. I don't know if travel is still in here. But when we travel together, when I say that, like I mean that. So when we go to like a hotel or whatever, I am the person that will unpack everything. I will put things in the drawer. I will put everything up. I will set everything up. I will make it. I'm not out of the suitcase. Like I will make wherever I am a home. But I don't have a space to draw from.
Mm.
I think that's how I feel about it.
Um, oh my God, like I just wanted to love on you. I want to be a spider monkey. Sorry, boo boo. I just spider monkey jelly. You share, you share, right? Okay. And I think a lot. It's amazing how certain people can feel that, or their friends are their home. You know what I mean? For me, like I said, because I am a mother, I felt like that for so many years. I felt alone because I was the only child. I was, I was always by myself. I had to raise myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been by myself. I'm kind of like a loner. Even though I love people, I'm kind of by myself. I'm not I don't talk about my feelings. I always say this app made me soft. Now I cry, but I'm a thug in my heart, y'all. I'm a thug in my
I
heart.
talk about my feelings all the time, and
Yeah, not me. I'm the complete opposite. But at the same time, I always say that my son saved me. Like my son, he is my home. Like without him, I wouldn't know what home felt like. I think I would be like, and it's funny because I lived out of garbage bags for so long that
Mhm.
even now going to a hotel, I don't want to unpack because I'm like, no, this is mine. Like I don't want to put it in there. This is mine. No, because I'm going back home with my kid. This I can't make this home. I can't get too comfortable.
Yeah.
Nothing is guaranteed. So it's interesting how you had the opposite effect. Now, question for everyone or for you is, did your family relationship influence you in wanting a family of your own or
Yeah. I mean, so I will say it didn't deter me from wanting a family, right? I'm definitely not hardened by my situation and things that I've gone through. Um, but it definitely put me in a space of it's something that I would want. Do I want children? Absolutely. I think I'd be a excellent mother. I would love it. Like I would love to. But it's also put me in a space to in a much more tangible way that there's no one size fits all family, right? So if it's in the cards for me to have children and have a fantastic. I embrace it. I want it. But if that's not the path to that, and my family is people I've met here or my nieces and nephews, and experiencing that in a different way, there's no wrong way, right? My childhood was not conventional, right? But it took me a long time to not look at it as a bad child. I used to say that, oh, I was bad. It was, you know, it was what it was,
I love
right?
it.
It was what it was. Did bad things happen? Sure. But sorry. But a bad childhood, a bad day, a bad moment doesn't make a bad life. And I don't have a bad life.
I love that.
You know what I
And
mean?
what are the happiest moments you did experience as a child that you would carry with you forever?
Oh man, and see, and that's the other part, right? Like I have so many great memories. I taught people how I grew up on a farm. I used to go to rodeos and ride horses and wrangle cattle and like I'm like
Jelly,
it's so weird. Yeah, like I grew up on a farm. We had chickens and
I'm
everything.
gonna cut
Like
you out, Jelly.
I know for real, but like those are some of my like most fun memories of that. I got to travel. I've had a passport since I was like a baby. I have traveled so much out of circumstance, right?
Yeah.
I haven't did a lot of mileage, but traveling and experiencing parts of the world as a kid with exchange programs and things with my mom, and there's so many like fun stories and memories that I have intertwined into all of the other things that maybe were not so savory, or things that I didn't understand, or things that I maybe carry with me that for a long time was a burden, but that I've learned to put down. And just I don't need to, I can acknowledge something and not carry it with me, right? I can say that this is there and this happened, and not let it weigh me down as I continue to live.
And so I like to tell everyone, if I knew then what I know now, what would it be, Jilly?
Okay, try not to cry with this.
Okay, I'll try not to cry.
I was watching a show, and I wish I could remember what show or movie or something, but the statement hit me really hard. Someone said, I can't remember the context, but the words were, I thought that broken homes are where broken people come from. And I would tell myself that your environment may influence you, but it doesn't make you. And a broken home doesn't mean I'm a broken person, right? You can choose the life that you want to lead. You can make decisions. You can come from a space that maybe not so savory to other people and become something beautiful. And that's something that happened, around you, but it doesn't have to be who you are, right? Like you can take broken pieces and make a beautiful mosaic or picture.
Yeah.
You can do that, right? So I would just tell myself that, like the experience is just something that happened, that happened to you. It isn't who you are, right?
And that's what you do on a daily basis, right? I wish I knew you. Where were you before I got my broken tattoo? Okay, I needed you, Jilly. I needed you. And you know what? That's what you are. That's what you are on this app, and that's what you do every day. So thank you, because that what you just said there, that is so true, right? I wish I knew that, because I didn't. I didn't. I thought I was broken because I came from a broken background. So that right there was more than what I needed. So thank you for that. I needed that too. So Fiva Diva, before Fiva Diva comes in, Jilly, tell everyone where they can find you.
Well, I try to stream on a daily basis where as we leading up to playlists, I'm actually about to, the next 2 weeks, I'm not going to be on much. We're going to be traveling. But you can typically catch me daily. I do my feature show Entanglements, which is on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. We do Muck Fundays on Mondays. We do TopBadge Squares on Sundays at 6 p.m. But after playlists, we're going to kind of shake things up. So we're going to try a couple new things. But no TopBadge Squares today. And then tomorrow, we're doing my 100 milli celebration. We're going to have a party. I don't celebrate a lot of things that happen on here. I just don't have a bad habit of not doing that. So we're going to celebrate the 100. So if y'all want to pull up tomorrow from 9 to 11 in the evening, Eastern Standard Time, come through, have some fun. Y'all going to get 2 solid hours out of me.
2 solid.
2 solid hours, and then laying it down.
So this is a question that I wanted to ask both of you guys, right? Is how can we show, and anybody, when I say we, is parents, right? Because we all experience coming from divorced families, is how can we show our love and compassion for our children as they go through challenges they didn't ask or create, such as divorce or coming from a broken home? What advice would you give to those parents in this comment right now? What would you say to them?
For me, I would say talk to your kids. Like I can recall when when I graduated and I moved away after I moved away, and I lived with my cousin who was married and had 2 kids, and they made the conscious decision to stay together for the sake of kids, which is fine. But like, I guess for me, it's just talking, right? Because as your kids grow up, like kids are learning how to process their emotions and put, meanings to those things and doing that. And not talking about those in a healthy way or communicating about those or giving them an outlet or space to do that can be very like detrimental, because now you're leaving me to define these things that I don't have the capacity to define, which now leaves me, especially in this day and age with the internet and Instagram and all this access. I didn't have any of this outside influence, right? Like it was dial-up phone, like there was no influence. Like don't leave that to someone else defining what that relationship or what that emotion should mean and what it should mean to them and how that impacts. Like you have to talk. Like don't say they're a kid you don't understand. They're not going to understand. Kids understand and take in and comprehend a lot. Like we know what's going on, and the more you kind of just brush it off or try to act like it's not there, can oftentimes have the most opposite effect. So I would say if these things are happening, have an honest, open dialogue. Like have communication. Like don't be afraid to have these conversations with your kids. You got to be honest with them.
Absolutely agree with that.
Okay, there we go. Am I back? All right. Fiva, what would your answer be?
Because of my experience with my parents being so different in terms of conversation, like Jilly said, talking to your children, but most importantly to me, and if you know me, I'm raising my children with my dad and not their fathers, but never making your child feel like their other parent is a bad person, just bad, because even if you don't directly say you're just like your father, you're just like your mother, or say a disparaging thing, like under your breath saying, oh, your dad is never going to do that. Like my mom would tell us how, like she would never tell me directly, your dad doesn't love you, but I would hear her say it to everybody else. So I would internalize that. And, I can remember telling my son when he was like 3 and all the kids got in trouble at school and they said they were calling mommies and daddies. He was like, I don't have a daddy. Like he thought somehow he had won the lottery because they can't call my dad. I don't have one. And it broke my dad's heart to hear. And in my mind, I'm like, oh crap, he just realized it. But in that moment, trying to explain to him, I could have said, your dad is this, your dad is that. He left, he didn't want to be a dad. But I made up Father's University. And he has to go here to be a good dad to you. And if he's not one, he may never come back. And having to explain that to a child that young was difficult. But I couldn't make his dad something horrible because it's his dad. Like that's a part of him, and you start pointing out flaws in the person you had children with, your children start to internalize, well, am I like that? Oh, when she's mad at me, is it because I'm behaving this way? Am I acting like this person that she doesn't like? So I think it's important that not only communicating with your children, but being able to communicate with the person that is helping you raise them in whatever capacity in a way that doesn't make your child feel bad about themselves. I never want my children to believe that their fathers didn't love them. I don't care if they're here or not. Like I had a dad as a little girl growing up, so it breaks my heart for my daughter that hers isn't around. But at the same time, like making sure she feels loved from every single person she's around is important, because that's what I had, Yes. So I just think it's important not to make the person you had, like you chose to have children with that person, no matter how it turned out, you chose that person. Making your child feel like you think that was a good decision is important.
I love these. I love it. So before you guys go, because I know you're probably like, come on, Jess.
No.
Welcome everyone to It Takes a Village with Jess. I'm like all emotional. And I just want to say thank you guys. Thank you for being vulnerable, for allowing me to be part of your world, allowing everyone else to be part of your world. And shout out to my top 3 gifters. We have Steph, Teddy, and my Jilly baby. How would you guys like to be remembered? So Fiva, yours is going to be a 2 question because I'm kind of curious. But Jilly, how would you like to be remembered in your parents' eyes?
Oh, that's deep. How would I like to be remembered in my parents' eyes?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know know that I would like to put the label on it in terms of like maybe like, oh, that you were successful, but that I just want my parents to remember me that I live like a full life. Like I lived a full life, you know, and the relationship I have with my parents, like my parents and I know we don't tinker, tiptoe around that things weren't sweet, right? But that, despite that and that situation, that I lived a full life, and that I was happy, I lived a happy full life, whatever that looks like. I don't want to box that into what this is, but a happy full life for myself. My daughter was happy and fulfilled in everything that she did.
And made an impact. Because Jilly, you make an impact every single day for those. And if you don't know, I just want you to know you make an impact, and you are the voice of people that can't even speak with their own emotions. So you know what? The butterfly effect, that this family that you have going on. I just want you to know, yes, you lived a happy and full life, but you also are impactful to everybody around you. So just to know that, Fiva Diva, you is going to be two, right? Your parents and you as a mother.
Okay. So with my parents, different things for both. I want my dad to just be proud that in spite of what he believed to be the worst path possible, no one envisions two children, no husband for their daughter, mental illness, things that I have been the kid that presented him with all the issues he never understood, right? All the things that he just didn't envision has been me. I was the kid he thought was going to graduate and never come home. And it just didn't work out that way. But I want him to be proud that he taught me to work through everything. Today may be the worst day of your life, but if you wake up tomorrow, that could be the best one. And he taught me about work ethic. He taught me how to stick to things and commit to things. So I want him to be proud of the fact that he is the one that instilled probably every quality that equates to stability in my life. That was him. For my mother, she taught me to live. She taught me to stand up for myself. I want her to know that while, sometimes I look at my mom and I think she lives on a planet with unicorns and it never rains. But she taught me just how to live and be happy in moments that may suck, but be happy. Like find that. And even if it looks bad, it'll be better tomorrow kind of thing. So even if the math doesn't math, it will still be better. As a mother, like I just want my kids, and I've already kind of received a lot of it because of what I've been through. But my son looked me in the eye one day and was like, "You're the best mom anyone could have." And I was like, "What makes you say that?" He was like, "You're my mom." And I was like, "Wait," in a moment of, "Wait a minute, what does that mean?" He was like, "I watch you fight for things that people don't want you to have. I see you trying. I know when you don't want to get up and go to my basketball game, but you come anyway. Like you are the best mom I could ever ask for because you work hard for us. You do anything for us." And that's what I want them to always remember, even in moments when it feels like mommy's really not paying attention to me.
I love it.
That they were everything to me.
That's right. That's right. Oh, you guys are so amazing. So I always say, right, you guys are now officially part of my village. One thing about me, you guys are my role models on this app. Like you guys, I look up to you. But one thing I am confident about is me as a mother. Like that is, everybody knows me. I am the mom. That is my thing. Y'all can have the feature shows. Y'all can have everything. But one thing I do have is my mother skills. But you guys are officially part of my village. If you guys ever need anything, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you guys need anything, Fiva, Jilly, I mean anything, a friend, a shoulder to lean on, just anything, you guys have me, and I mean that. So with that being said, Jilly,
Oh, I got butterflies.
and yes, you are officially part of my village. So yes, And my Fiva Diva. I was trying to get temperature things, but I couldn't find it. But you guys are my village. I couldn't thank you enough. So I want to end this on a good note, right? So can you guys tell me your top 3 happiest moments of your life?
Oof.
Mm.
Or even one. It doesn't matter. What are, when you think of happiness, what is happy to you?
Uh, Fever?
And it can be anything.
Okay,
Anything.
so I'll go with 3. Um, the, this is gonna sound very strange, but one of the happiest moments of my life was my father dropping me off at school. Mind you, my entire family drove me the hour and a half to college, helped me unpack my room and everything. And my father had this moment where he's like, let's go get your books. My mom's like, I'm coming. He's like, no, you stay here, unpack a room. I'm going. And this was just me and him walking across a college campus. And he looks at me and he says, don't talk to boys.
College.
Okay. Moment. Like he felt like that was his moment to have this boy conversation with me that he's never had never mentioned, never even thought to have. But he was like, "Don't talk to boys," and I was like, "Ever?" And he's like, "Never." It was just I don't know why I was so happy in that moment, but it really just like that just touched me, and I will never forget that day. Obviously, this is gonna sound very very bad because the second best happiest moment in my life was when I had my daughter, because I had been through so much from the moment I found out I was pregnant to her getting here, like bed rest and being sick and just wondering how we were going to get through this pregnancy. And when they took this baby out of me, it was just this moment of tears and happiness and like, she is here. I have completed whatever it is I was supposed to complete. You know, my son's birth was great, but it was just this moment where I felt like my life was whole finally when I had her. And just the third one was honestly moving into the apartment I'm currently in. My children had their own space and I have my own space after years of us kind of living out of suitcases and duffel bags because they were with my dad and I was with my sister. So I love it. I love it.
Okay. I always have this childhood memory where growing up, so living with my dad, right, by myself. So we lived in Hawaii, if you guys are familiar, it's multiple islands. So I grew up on the big island. It was just me and my dad, and the rest of his family was on another island. So certain gatherings we would have, right? So New Year's, just Christmas. But New Year's was always a fun time to me because everybody would come out and it would always just be this production, right? Like karaoke machine. And this was karaoke when there was no digital on the screen. Like you needed to know music. Okay. You had a book with words on it and they would play a tape or play something and you needed to be able to count yourself in to sing the song properly. There was nothing telling you when to do any of that. Karaoke machine would be out. There'd be music. But I remember this one house that we lived in. It was this 2-story white and green house. I can remember it had this extremely, well, to a kid, this extremely long driveway, right? But it was a long driveway. Long driveway. Side story to that. One day my dad left me in the truck and he forgot to put the brake on. And I was in the truck and the truck rolled all the way back into a ravine. But that's a different story. But long driveway. So long driveway. And they took the driveway and they took fireworks and in stakes and lined the driveway. Okay, so they lined this driveway, fireworks. They have this big pole that has these long, like firecrackers, like the long strand of them, like the extremely like 30-foot long, and they have it, hang up. They light the long fireworks. 2 of my uncles have the little blowtorch things on their backs, and they run down the driveway and light all these fireworks up. And it's just this whole huge display in this dead end, like just housing area going off like crazy. It was just an insane like display in my mind of just watching all of this happen in my front yard as 5, 6 years old. And you're just like, wow, like all of this is happening. But I will never still when I get together with my family, we talk about that. That was definitely probably one of my favorite memories. Another one would be years later, my first solo trip. So I traveled a lot, and as a kid, I flew by myself, right, like an unaccompanied minor. But it wasn't until I was like, I wish I would have grabbed the picture. I'll find the picture. But I was 30, 35, 34. And I had never traveled like by myself, like done a true like solo trip. So the year prior, Australia was always on my bucket list, right? So I made a vision board. I put pictures of Australia up. I had this picture of the Sydney Opera House and the water and everything. And someone was taking it off, off a boat in the water. And a year later, I finally took the trip, planned it, went by myself. I didn't ask anybody else, but when I was there, was out taking pictures, took a selfie of myself and was going around. And I was going through my pictures and I looked at my vision board and I looked at a picture that I had taken. And it was just an identical picture of me on a boat in the water, taking a picture with the Sydney Opera House behind me of the same picture that I looked at that was a picture of someone else taking a picture of the Opera House. And I just was like, oh, like full circle. I had a great time traveling by myself. From that point forward, I travel by myself all the time. It's like, you want to go? Cool, I'm going. It's where I'll be. And I'm just going to take off from this point forward and travel anywhere. But I had a great time. I traveled in Australia for 10 days. It was like an amazing experience. And the last one would probably be living out of my suitcase for a year in 2016.
I heard you said that story. That is amazing.
I got rid of all of my stuff. The universe worked the job out in terms of like they started downsizing, and it just so happened, and I just kind of took it as a sign, and I was like, all right. So I just got rid of all my stuff, took my savings, and I lived out of a rolling suitcase and a backpack for 10 months, and I just traveled. Like, it was awesome. Like, it was awesome. There's a lot of rough times, like, but overall, like, incredible feeling. I encourage anybody, if you're able to do something like that. It's the first time in my 30 plus years of living that all my time was 100% my own. I don't know if anybody really think about it, like really think about your lifestyle and a time where you really could do whatever you wanted. Literally, you could stay somewhere longer, you could leave earlier, you weren't answering to, I got to get back to this, or I got to make sure I meet this person. Like, it was an incredible feeling. I think everybody should experience that to whatever degree that is for you. But I absolutely loved that year of doing that. I wish I did it when I was in my 20s. I probably would have done it longer.
Amazing. Oh my God, amazing. By the way, everyone, thank you guys so much for being part of It Takes a Village with Jess, Jilly, Fiva. Thank you guys for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for making me cry. Thank God I put waterproof makeup, y'all. I'm a thug in my heart.
I want to tell you, I'm like so super proud of you. Like, I understand. I remember you coming on the app and finding your way in your space. And I think I'm so proud of you for what you've created here, this space that you've created, this discussion topic that you've created. There's not a show like it. So you are awesome, and keep doing that. Keep bringing this positive and great energy. I'm going to leave you with a story only because I heard this while I was getting ready and I was listening to church today. And I think it's very important. And I want to tie this into you being important, everybody being important. But she came on and she did this experiment with her daughter, and she blindfolded her daughter, had people come up on stage and had the lady say a phrase, and she was to see if she could identify, which was her mom, right? So she ends up identifying her, and she said she had asked her daughter the day prior, do you think you could pick my voice out if we were kind of it? And she said, of course. And she said, well, why? She expected her daughter to say, because I know your voice. Her daughter said, no, because I'm around you all the time. So to tie that in, it's not about the technical stuff, but it's about your presence, right? Mm-hmm. And just because you don't hear something all of the time, it doesn't mean that's present. So as you continue your journey and do this, you may not hear all the time that you're doing a great job and you're doing this, but it's your presence and people see you. I want you to know that you are seen. You are doing amazing things on this app. You are contributing such a positive light to all of this. So continue to do that and continue to be that type of presence, okay?
Jilly, I told you I'm a thug in my heart. Thank you. Like, seriously, that means a lot, especially to this new world that I'm embarking on. So I appreciate that. And that actually ties into my quote that I thought of you, beautiful women, and everybody in here, right? So the daily affirmation, the word of the day is proud, right? Proud. And I'm gonna read it for you. It says, I'm so proud of you. I'm proud that you keep showing up every single day. I'm proud of all the tough decisions you have to make. And even though it's hard, you stood your ground. I'm proud that you never give up on yourself and you kept fighting for everything that you guys love. I'm proud that despite everything you've been through, you still wake up and find ways to smile every day. I'm proud that even though you've seen so much darkness, you always continue to search for light. I'm proud of you and how far you've come. And I'm even more excited for everything that has yet to come. So, y'all, your word of the day is proud. And man, proud is an understatement when it comes down to you beautiful ladies and everything that you guys have to offer. So, thank you guys so much. So,
Thank you for having us. Thank you for taking on this topic. I appreciate you.
Anytime. Thank you so much. It takes a village with Jess. So bye, y'all. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys. Oh my God, I'm so emotional. Woo. Guys, we had two amazing TopBadge, Fiva, Diva, and JillyBaby. Make sure you guys hit them with a fave. And as you guys see, today was a crazy not crazy, I wouldn't say crazy. It was yeah, I'm gonna go cry too. It is powerful. I'm gonna be toxic, but thank you guys so much. Boo Boo, thank you for being my number one. Teddy, JillyBaby, you guys never know anyone's story, right? Everybody, thank you, Jilly. Everyone has a story, and I say this constantly, guys, constantly. I always say everyone has a story, and it's so important for you guys to know where we come from. And what we do with it. So thank you guys so much for being part of it. If you guys want to be part of my show, let me know. Let me know on Instagram, and anyone is welcome. You don't have to have children. It's about us, our village. So thank you guys so much. So JillyBaby, I'm going to post this. So there you go. I love it. It's a good one. And Fiva Diva. So you guys are officially on my board. But we had a, sparkle. So you are more than welcome, Queen. Thank you so much. So with that being said, y'all, thank you so much for It Takes a Village with Jess. So hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday with your family. And thank you so much for being part of my show. So make sure you guys head on over to Smurfy's and Fiva Diva. She said her show is not tonight, or is it? Fiva, but I know Friday we're gonna go to Fiva's paint and sip. So not until September 11th, y'all. So Fiva Diva's show's coming back up. So guys, Friday though, I'm gonna be at Fiva Diva. We already ordered our canvas. I'm gonna be there. My son's gonna be on the opposite side of the camera, but he's gonna be there as well, drawing with me. So I'm excited. So you guys have a wonderful Sunday, and I'm gonna head on over to Smurfy's because she had and party tomorrow for JillyBaby's 100 milli. And listen, I'm speaking into existence. I'm hoping we're gonna hit 10 milli this month, so that way I can celebrate my 1-year anniversary of streaming, 1 year since my stroke, my first time ever of a milli. And maybe there's a surprise on the 4th. So let's see, fingers crossed. So I'm hoping August 28th. Yes, Jarnell, it's been a year. So I'm hoping by, let's see, August 28th. I'm hoping we hit 10 milli so I can have my first milli party, celebrate my 1-year anniversary and my 1-year anniversary since my stroke. So we'll see how it goes. Yes, Jarno, I was that shy person. So y'all, make sure you guys hit me with that fave. Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed the show.